Alright guys, so we should now be live on YouTube for round 5. As you can see, we're here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix with the F2 drivers here joining us. 14 people turning up today, with quite a lot of them from the top pile of the standings, which is the most important thing to have a look at. So hello Leon and hello Mitchell. So as we go into round 5 of the season, and we have a dry qualifying in the meantime on our screens, we do have Leon Bentley, aka Bad Boy, who's in the lobby with 52 points, 0 wins though, so the consistency in all first 4 races has taken him to the top spot at the moment after about a quarter of the season. Vasilios Velchiotis Billy in the Haas, just 2 points shy of the top of the standings, with 2 wins on his back. Tom Mortiers, the Ferrari driver, Tom Killer, which is 1 point behind Billy and 3 behind Leon Bentley, with 1 win in Australia. Alex Marsh in P4, and a surprising P4 for Alex Marsh, a chill drive in the McLaren Honda, with 41 points, so 11 points off the top. The other Ferrari driver, Alessandro Van der Velde, obviously Alex Killer 150, who's still in the pit lane here in Canada, 40 points with 1 win in Shanghai 3 rounds ago. He's in P5 and rounds up the very close drivers, just 12 points off the leader, Miss Alessandro Van der Velde. And as you can tell, Ferrari are leading the Constructors' Championship after 4 rounds with 13 point gap over the Force India team, and the Haas boys in P3 with 68 points, which means they are 21 behind Ferrari and share the same amount of wins as them, 2 for each. None for Force India still. McLaren in P4 and Toro Rosso in P5. Quite a lot of points off the top in the constructors, so it looks a bit more stable there. There's quite a lot of people still in the pitch. You can see Alice Killer, Spaghetti, and the rest are pretty much on their out laps. Maledictus is starting a qualifying lap, so let's take a look. Apparently have a rain session in the race, according to Mitchell, who's in the lobby. So yeah, as Canada is known for its last chicane and the corner cutting penalties here, we're gonna have to keep an eye out on the race director to check who is keeping it clean. And certainly Maledictus is not. He spins it into the wall. The Red Bull driver is facing the wrong way 3 minutes from the start of this qualifying session, and he loses his wheel. That's so unfortunate for Maledictus. I don't think he was expecting that much damage to be caused, and his front right tire has been ripped off from the wall. That's so unfortunate for the Red Bull driver. He's gonna have to start from last position certainly, and he's gonna have a long way to go to get a decent points finish. As speaking of the Red Bulls, his teammate Johnny Roper, who's on a lap as well, seems a bit more cleaner than his teammate though. It's the first time out on the wheel for the British driver, so let's see what he can do the first lap. It's going to be a 12.3 for Johnny Roper, currently on pole. I think it's going to be beaten quite soon by another driver, chill drive across the line. This is an 11.1, which was invalid. Not surprised at all. Canada is not an easy track to keep it clean on track limits, but Billy does so and goes on pole with a 10.7, almost 1.5 seconds quicker than the British driver Johnny Roper. Robin in P3 being beaten by the Ferrari of Tom Killer with an 11.3, still about 6/10 off pole is Tom Killer. So not the greatest qualifying run for Tom Killer so far, but it seems like he's going for another one. So Yeah, hello and welcome to all the viewers that are joining us today for the qualifying session. 7.5 minutes to go for today to see who's gonna snatch pole in Canada. Not exactly the most demanding, I wouldn't say demanding, but not exactly the most important qualifying session of the year. It's incredibly one of the most easy tracks to overtake at. So still, obviously, people give their 110% on qualifying to get the best grid position for the race. Billy improves even more with a 10.5, so that's a 2.5 tenths improvement, which puts him over 7 tenths on top, in front of Tom Killer, who's not going to go for another lap. He has to yell behind his teammate Alice Killer, who looks like he's going to complete a lap now. Probably was invalid at 13.2, not on pace, so he's going to go for another one. He seems quite conservative on the first two corners, but 6 people have set a lap time, with Billy coming out on top out of them all. Chill Drive is struggling on the exit of turn 7 or 8. That's the chicane of turns 7 and 8, I believe. 7 people have now set a lap. I think that's Bad Boy into P2 with a 10.8. Great lap by the Force India driver and current driver standings leader. He goes 3.5 tenths behind Billy, who is pretty good on qualifying in general, so it's not something that you should be surprised of. He has very good qualifying pace on every track, good on one lap pace in general, so I think the Haas driver will be on the front row at least today with a 10.5. That's a very, very good lap. Maledictus is gonna start from last, then Grimsby and Warlock, two Season 3 and Season 2 greats of F2, yet to set a lap with Seppins. Also not having set one with the Alice Killer. The Ferrari goes into P2, kicks Bad Boy off the front row for the time being, with 9 people setting a lap. 3 have not. Seppins, Warlock and Grimsby all in the pit lane, currently chilling out, but not having set a lap, so we're gonna have to move on now in the latter stages of this session and try to place their cars as far as they can up the top. Spaghetti then, so apparently Spaghetti Chips is running a wet setup, wet wings, so means way higher wings for qualifying, compromising his straight line speed. Evening Goran. Maledictus having the Alonso quotes out after that embarrassing qualifying session, which was, to be fair, a bit unlucky on him. Mitchell did a 10.4 in a practice session, so let's see if he can repeat it today. That would be pole for him if he could repeat it now. 10.513 is the current pole time. Fastest lap set by the Haas driver of Vasilios Veliciotis, who's currently second in the Drivers' Championship. 2 points behind Bad Boy, who is currently in P3. It's going to be interesting to see how close these two qualify on the grid. It's going to be a titanic battle between all of these. Top 5 are all on the top 5 actually, with a whole different order. I don't think anyone except Chill Drive is on their championship order, but this is going to change then. 3.5 minutes to spare. This is where all the action for the second run starts. So yeah, let's see who's going to crack under pressure, who's going to perform the best out of all of these. Because to be honest, I think we shouldn't keep an eye out just for the front row guys to be on pole. There are quite a lot of people that can snatch pole, and that's not going to be Johnny today because he's retired from the session. I'm not sure why. He's currently in P9 and he's the slowest out of the drivers that have set a lap, so I'm not sure why that happened. to him. He's got quite a lot of grass on his tyres, probably annoyed. He hasn't got enough fuel to do 2 more laps, so I think that's a reason to abort his whole qualifying session. So he's not going to start anything higher than P9. He's going to be lucky to start inside the top 10. Seppins now is on a lap in P10. See what Warlock and Grangebeer can do as well. Grangebeer is about to start his lap any moment now, with Warlock just out now with 2.5 minutes to spare. But at some point I'm going to have to go on the top pile of things here and see what they are doing. So Seppins, let's see if he can beat Johnny and Mitchell, place himself in P8 at least. A Sauber driver. 10.0 by Billy Veliciottis, and he's into pole position by almost over 8/10 of a second. Can anyone repeat or beat that lap from Billy across the line for Alex Kiddo, who's starting a lap? Bad Boy on a lap as well. Is he starting one? Yes, he is. Chill Drive, I'm pretty sure he's on a lap with 1 and 40 seconds. Seppins was invalidated on his last lap, with Warlock just starting one. Grangebeer is on his second sector, just approaching the third one now on the hairpin. This is where things hotting up now, with a great lap from Billy. Vasilius Veliciottis on pole by 7.5 tenths. That's a great gap he's got right now, and if he keeps it clean, I think he's going to be on pole for today's race. But we're going to have to wait and see with Robin across the line with a 10.7. He knocks out the Ferrari driver of Alessandro Van der Velde off the front row. The Toro Rosso into P2. Let's see what others can do though. Alex Killer on his third sector. Bad Boy also couple of 100 meters back from the Ferrari driver. Mitchell into P2, 10.5, and I saw a spinning car. That's Bad Boy, current driver, standings leader, spinning in the hairpin. Big mistake by him. He's only in P5. Mitchell retires off the front row. Can anyone beat Mitchell or even Billy to take pole in today's qualifying session? Certainly Bad Boy has minimized his chances of doing that with a spin and a lot of grass. I'm not sure if he's going to go for another one. He's going to try it anyway. Alice Killer into P3, Robin in P4 right now, and he retires from the session. Alice Killer in P3 with 10.7, just beating Robin. Mitchell seems very happy with that lap. He's currently in the front row, but let's see. It's going to be quiet now. Grangebeer only in P7, Warlock in P10. Johnny and Maledictus, 2 Red Bulls, are going to have to start from the last row of the grid. Spaghetti is now retired, and we're left with just 7 drivers out on track then. Let's see what they can do. Chill Drive only in P5, just behind Robin. 9,000s, 8,000s actually separating them, and a lot of people have retired. It's only down to Bad Boy, Alice Killer and Billy. Billy goes even quickest with a 10.0. He goes even quickest in Canada. He's currently comfortably in pole. Can Alice Killer beat that, or has he gone invalid in that last chicane? Across the line, Alice Killer goes, he weaves his wheel. He's not going to improve to 10.5, so that was indeed invalid, and that's pretty much the end of this qualifying session, as Seppins is on a very slow lap. So Vasilius Veliciottis is the Haas driver on pole by almost 5/10 of a second. So that's a humongous gap he's got there. Billy, great qualifier, he's known for that. 10.0 proves that today. It was actually exactly 5/10 the gap to Mitchell Fleury in the Toro Rosso. The other Toro Rosso of Robin in P4. So the Italian team doing very well, and the other Italians in P3 of the Ferrari. Tom Killer though down in P8, the Belgian driver only managing in 11.0, so over a second of the top. Alex Marsh in P5, Bad Boy only starting in P6, and Grangebeer just behind him. The 2 Force India starting on the third row of the grid. So we have a wet race ahead of us. This is going to be extremely interesting for the drivers to manage their cars, and it's also going to be interesting to see who run a dry and who run a wet setup in that dry qualifying session. Did they compromise their quali to be quick in the race, or vice versa? Gonna have to wait and see with the formation lap ahead of us. Mitchell hasn't got a wet setup either way, so there wasn't too many options for him. Spaghetti happy with that P9. Chill Drive reports a loss of a few tenths. So there's no formation lap. Yes, there is actually. The lights were coming on then. So Billy leads them away on the formation lap today. He's weaving his tires already in this treacherous conditions. Very cold track and very cold air temperature. So 2 people have been disqualified already. But Mitchell in P2, Alice in P3, Robin in P4. Very interesting grid order though, with Alice Killer on a Toro Rosso sandwich. See what happens between them. Maybe Mitchell can attack Billy. Obviously got pole by a similar amount of margin in Monaco and won by 40 plus seconds. So let's see if that's gonna happen again today. His pace looked beastly in qualifying. I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the case in the race, but let's hope something happens up the top and we see a very interesting race like we do almost every time in this tier. Billy lining up his Haas on the first row of the grid, with Mitchell following him on the Toro Rosso. It's going to be crucial for Mitchell to get a good start. We know how quick Billy is if he finds a bit of breathing space from the car behind and a bit of clean air, obviously. So people lining up on their grid slots now. Let's see how this start goes down. Interesting conditions, interesting grid here with Billy on pole as the lights are coming on now then in Montreal. It's 5 red lights and the Canadian GP is underway now with Billy seemingly well off the line. But Mitchell pressurizing him around the outside. Can Mitchell do anything around the outside as the Robin goes very wide as the two McLaren and the Ferrari, the 2 Force Indies go around the outside of Robin. Let's see what Alice Killer can do up into P3. Chill Drive remains in P4 with Billy keeping the lead of Mitchell. But Robin going very wide, very ambitious into turn 1, trying to get P3 of Alice Killer there, but it didn't quite work. Tom Killer in P8, Warlock, Spaghetti, Seppins, Benedictus and Johnny down to the last. Johnny has crashed into the wall, no damage for him. But the first race with the wheel is not going great at the moment. As Alice Killer is now past Mitchell for second place this race. Mitchell is struggling as Alice Killer finds himself up into P2. Can he pressurize Billy now, who's got already a 1.3 gap? Let's see what's happening further back. Robin and Tom Killer. Robin, has he got any damage? No, he doesn't, but he's losing positions left, right and center as the 2 Force Indies are also putting their pressure on Chill Drive, with Spaghetti and Warlock also going at it for P9 now. Seppins and Maledictus also side by side, a bit of lag involved there. But Robin in P7, the 2 Force Indies very close together. Is going to be any team orders? Bad Boy in the lead of the championship. I don't think they're going to risk it all too much there. As Warlock again up into P9. Spaghetti already on lap 1 with a time penalty. Seppins on the Sauber in the pit lane, getting a 5-second stop and go in the meantime for speeding in the entry. Robin seems to be struggling, a bit of weird lines there into turn 1 and 2. Tom Killer right on him as the gaps are starting to be created up the top. Not very close battles there, but we've got this one for P4 now. Can the Force India of Bad Boy do anything on Chill Drive, who's currently in P4? Mitchell also losing pace to Alice Killer. Tom Killer now up into P7. Robin loses another position down to P8. I believe he's lost 4 positions so far. Yes, he has indeed, as Seppins and Johnny I think are battling on track, as Johnny has now got damage. It's absolutely treacherous conditions for him to do the first race on the wheel. Not a great start but Chill Drive and Bad Boy going very close. Chill Drive breaking very early. Warlock and Robin, another position lost by Robin, as Warlock though goes very wide, so that must have been a very ambitious move into the hairpin. Spaghetti snatches off P9 off the McLaren driver as well. But let's see now the battle of P4. Chill Drive pulls away from Bad Boy as Grangebeer loses time to his teammate as well. Good line through the chicane though for Leon. Can he do any sort of move? Mitchell with the quickest lap, although he's losing time to Alex Killer. I don't know how's that happening. Billy should be the quickest man on track. As whoa, Spaghetti and Warlock clash together into turn 1. Spaghetti loses the back end from Warlock's front wing, and now he's down to P11. Not sure what happened there. That seemed like another lockup or a very ambitious move from Warlock into turn 1. Tagged Spaghetti's rear end, but now Mitchell is losing a position, down to P5, down to P6. The 2-4 Cindy's have got past him. What happened to Mitchell? No damage on his front wing. Can he go down the inside of Grangebeer? No, he can't. Grangebeer is going down the inside of Bad Boy. That must have been a warning. And Chill Drive now up into a dreamless third position. Bad Boy up into P4, and Grangebeer goes inside the top 5. That must be absolute wonders for Billy and Alice Killer, who seem their lead to increase, as now Tom Killer, Grangebeer and Mitchell going almost 3 wide into the hairpin there. Mitchell finds himself up into P5, finds his form again, but Grangebeer is right on him, and he's going to go for a move on the chicane. That would be very risky on these wet conditions. Can Tom Killer do anything? No, he can't into this corner. The Chill Drive still hanging on in front of Bad Boy, and he actually does the quickest lap of the day, so his pace is looking very good. Mitchell losing a bit of pace, a bit of mistake there, cost his podium there for a bit, but if he can find his form again, I think he can pile on the pressure on the 2 drivers in front, but not like that. He's got a time penalty now, 3 seconds added to his race time on the end of the race, with Grangebeer going very close. Mitchell loses the back end, and that's maybe cost him the top 5 paying position right now. Grangebeer goes around the outside. Can he make the move stick on Mitchell, who goes down into P6? Can Tom Killer do anything? He's right behind Grangebeer. He's going to be almost 3 wide into turn 7. Mitchell hangs on into P6 at least, with Tom Killer still in P7, although his pace looks very decent. Bad Boy almost goes down the inside of Chill Drive into the hairpin, so very exciting battles here for the podium. Chill Drive needs to speed up if he wants to pull away from Bad Boy now in the early stage of this Grand Prix. 4.5 tenths between P5, P6 and P7. Very close battles. Grangebeer seems to be struggling a bit on straight line speed. He seems to be lacking some kilometers on the top end to Mitchell, who said he's doesn't have a wet setup, so he might be running a bit lower wings. Chill Drive seems to be the quickest on track again, which is a bit confusing, as he lost 6 tenths to Alice Killer that lap, with Billy not pulling away from the Ferrari driver, so this may get interesting towards the end of this first. In Chill Drive though, after his fastest lap, he gets a 3-second time penalty, which might cost him, as he has 2 drivers very close to him, as Bad Boy loses the back end, almost loses it completely. Tom Killer, Mitchell, Tom Killer goes for a move up into P6. Mitchell loses another position. He's now lost 5 from the start to P7, with Robin down to P8 as well. He lost 4 positions in 5 laps. Not a great start for these two, but Grangebeer gets a 3-second penalty already on lap 5, so a lot of penalties on this early stage. Caps are starting now to be created, with just Robin inside a second from his teammate Mitchell. Both Toro Rossos dream qualifying, got into a terrible start on the race, but can they make a decent comeback and score a top 5 for both drivers? Chill Drive also with a dry setup from what it seems like. Mitchell with another 3-second time penalty from 3 consecutive warnings. Chill Drive, that might actually have been the quickest lap for Chill Drive. 2.1, he's got 9 tenths on the Ferrari driver, and I think another 9 to Billy, so he's catching the top 2. This could be spicy towards the end of the race between these 3 drivers. Bad Boy is losing time to the top 3 now, as he's still struggling with that back end, as I think most people are going to be. Robin seems to be catching Mitchell, so Mitchell might let his teammate through now, who's struggling on the back end as well. Great camera angle we have here. 3 Force Indias closely following Chill Drive, who's closely following the top 2, so nothing is over yet. Pace is looking good for all top 3. Chill Drive has now lost a bit of time to Alice, just 3/10 this lap, so he has to keep it up if he wants to have a shout on the victory today, or if he wants to keep it tidy to finish off another podium race, just like he did in Shanghai, his inaugural podium in ERL. Now the gap is under a second between the top 2, so Alex Gill is picking up the pace. Billy is spinning Johnny in the first sector. Billy's now going to have to goes a yai very smartly there, so within 9/10 is now the gap. Alice Killer is catching a 10th per corner here. Billy is really struggling within 8/10 now. It's going to be within a shout over a move in a moment here. It's going to get very, very tense. I think Billy's tires might be gone, or his setup might not be good. Johnny has had enough. Yeah, it's not good conditions for him to start his season off with a wheel. So I think he's gonna have to wait for the next race to show his true potential on the new device he's using on the game. Billy there compromises his run onto the finish line, as the gap is just half a second now between him and the Ferrari driver, as Alice Killer pulls away from Childruff as well. Johnny's got a 5-second stopping over speeding in that pit lane. He's going in for a pit stop and for a retirement for the Red Bull driver. His teammate in P10 closely followed by the Williams of Spaghetti. Billy now very bad line through the first sector there, through turns 3 and 4. Can Alice Killer do anything here? He's putting all the pressure, looks down the inside, he's letting know Billy that he's there and that he's got the pace, and it's not going to be the same story as Monaco where Billy won by a huge margin. Alice Killer is right here and he's ready to answer all the critics that said I cannot win in Canada and he cannot take the championship lead. So he looks to be a series title contender this season. It didn't look quite like that last season towards the end as well, but is looking very good this year. Now on to Canada. It's P5 in the standings, and if he can win this race, I'm sure he's gonna rocket his chances of scoring some decent points, as his confidence will go up into the next races in the European part. Spaghetti very close to Maledictus now for P9, as Robin dropped some more places now. I don't know what happened there to Robin. He's caused some damage on his front right end plate. He might go back in the pits. He doesn't, but he's very, very slow, so I'm not sure why he's not coming back. 7/10 now between Alice Killer and Billy, both drivers losing grip on the end of their first stint. Bad Boy seems closer to Childruff now. 7.5 tenths. Top 6 have all gained some positions except Billy, who's still in P1. So a great start for these top 6. Grangebury seems very good in P5. It's going to score some decent points for Force India, while Ferrari are seeing their drivers in P2 and P6, which would mean that they score 26 points, with Force India scoring 22. So Force India really have to up their game if they want to have a shout of winning the Constructors' title this season. They have a very good chance with Bad Boy and Grimsby on their team. But I think the main focus will be on the driver standings right now, as Bad Boy is losing the championship lead if it finishes like this by quite a lot as well. Billy in second place, just 2 points behind him. If he wins this race, as we have a migrating host, that might not be good. I'm not sure why Johnny has left, but I don't think that's a good idea. Alex Gillis seems to have eased off his pressure on Billy, who has picked up the pace. Seems to have a bit of breathing space behind him, but the gap is still under 8 tenths here on the back straight. Alex Gillis seems to have good straight line speed with a bit of slipstream. I think it's going to be interesting to see if anyone is going to try and go for the zero stop in these conditions. I don't think anyone will, so I think we'll see most pit stops around lap 16 to lap 19 are maximum for the one stop. So 2 full wet compounds for the drivers. So Bad Boy right on the back of Alex Marsh as well. Can Bentley do anything to pass the McLaren driver for a podium spot? Alex Marsh seems to be struggling now, as Alex Gillis is right on the back of Billy as well. It's going to be a two-way fight for the podium and for the lead of this race. This has spiced things up quite a bit. I think we're going to have to focus on the battle for the lead. Basket is a bit too far back. Can Bad Boy do anything on chill drive? Alex Marsh is not going to defend, but it's going to stay ahead of Leon Bentley for the time being. It's the gap between the top two has moved up to 6 tenths now. 4.5 between top the third place and fourth of Alex and Leon. Onto the last chicane now, very crucial corner for your run up into turn 1. Half a second between the top two now. Alex Gillis seems to have picked up the pace again, right behind Billy. Dirty Air is not going to help, so I think if he finds a bit of clean air, if he undercuts the Haas driver and goes into the lead, I think we might see him actually pull away from Vasilius. Someone's got a 3-second penalty. I didn't quite catch who that was. Spaghetti and Maledict is now going very close to each other. Maledict is going to try and hang it into the inside for P9. Spaghetti around the outside, as Maledict is going to have the worst traction of the two, but he's going to try and hang it in there. He puts his nose on the inside of the Williams. Arji Baji there, ping pong racing between the two of them, but Maledict is somehow still into P9. Let's see what the top two and the battle for the position of the podium are doing. Vasilios still in the lead, with Alessandro Mandevelde very close to him. Is Bad Boy going to go for a move on Alex Marsh into the hairpin? He looks closer than ever, is the Force India driver. Let's see the straight line speed between the two of them. Can he go for a move on the end of this big straight on the McLaren driver for the podium spot? He's way too far back, so not right now. He's going to have to remain patient, try and make his move when he's closer. Up to 1 second now, the gap between Alex Killer and Billy. Robin, who's currently P11, gets a 3-second penalty. See Spaghetti and Maledictus. How's the battle for P9 going between these two? The only Red Bull driver to remain in the race, and I believe the only Williams driver on the race as well. Spaghetti Chips, also known as Lenny Saville and Eduardo Oliveira in P9. 4 tenths between Alex Marsh and Liam Bentley now. It's going to be very crucial for the championship. It's 3 extra points, but also keep in mind the penalties these drivers have. It's going to have a massive effect with such closed gaps. We might see some surprise on the podium. But let's focus now on the battles on track. Childrive seems to be pulling away on the straight again, with a gap over a second now between the top two. But a very bad line from Billy Childrive with a 3-second penalty, so that's another one. I don't think Bad Boy is more than one, and I think Childrive has at least 2 penalties from what I can remember off the top of my head. We're gonna have to keep an eye out on them on the pit stop phase and see what's going on with them. But 6 tenths between Childrive and Bad Boy. Gap's about stabilizing on a very risky gap. It's not exactly safe to say it's going to remain like this. Just a mistake and Childrive could be out of the podium position. Spaghetti and Maledictus very close to each other. Spaghetti going to try and go for a move on the exit of this corner. Not great traction. Robin with a change of front wing. His race is not going great. It was looking very nice with a P4 in qualifying. Still 7 tenths. It doesn't look like 7 tenths to me. So close to Billy on the hairpin, but such low speed. It's getting very exciting up the top. Let me share a link in a chat. As I see, we don't have many viewers, and I'm not sure why that is. Oh, as Billy loses the back end dramatically there into turn 1. His tires are well gone from what it seems like. I think I was pretty much opposite lock there for the German driver. Let's see then. Alice Killer seems to be a bit more stable on the back end. As Billy loses it again. He's right on him now, half a second between these two. Billy's well struggling. He's got a lot of pressure as Bad Boy has now picked up another penalty. That's very crucial for his race as well. Now right on the back of Billy goes Alice Killer, very close to his rear diffuser, almost giving him damage there. But it's now gonna pull away. Is Billy on the back straight. Billy, another bad line through the chicane. Cost him a bit of time to Alice Killer now. He's trying to break the slipstream. Is Vasilios as Alessandro right behind him. Still half a second the gap. And Billy again losing the back end. Just right on board with him. You can see the mirrors filling up with a red car. As Bad Boy very close to Childrive as well. Mitchell with a 3-second penalty. He's currently in P7. Oh, the gaps are very close now. Childrive a big mistake in the turn 4 in the first sector section. Bad Boy's going to try and go down the inside for the podium spot. Childrive almost closed the doors. Bad Boy going to try and go around the outside of him. The Force India drivers better traction as Childrive right going to be side by side heading to turn 7. Who's going to have the braking advantage? It seems to be Childrive who pushes Bad Boy off. That might be a warning for the Force India driver who goes down to P4 again. Worse traction for him. Childrive has the inside line for the hairpin. Bad Boy's going to try and break him again, but Childrive seems to have the upper hand with Bad Boy still on his side, and he seems to have taken P3 now with Childrive. A bit of bad traction of the hairpin there. Bad Boy, but they're still neck and neck heading into the chicane. It's going to be side by side between these two. It's going to end in a crash, and both of them almost in the wall. And now Grangebury is going to be very close to him. But Bad Boy, out of all of that, into P3. Might be investigated by the stewards. A very controversial move for the podium spot. Chill Drive stuck his nose in the chicane, was side by side, so I don't think that must have been anyone's fault from my perspective. But Bad Boy finally up into P3. Chill Drive ends his hopes of a podium probably with a lot of penalties from what I can remember. So the round of pit stops has now begun with Mitchell and the McLaren of Calvin Backham in the pits. Gap between the top two is still about 6 to 7 tenths now. So let's quickly check the penalties of each driver. Billy with 1, 2 penalties. Alice Killer with 1. Bad Boy with 1. 6 seconds for Chill Drive. 3 for Grangebury. 3 seconds. 3 seconds for Tom Killer as well. And then Spaghetti with quite a lot of warnings. So penalty advantage for Alice Killer so far. He's on his first warning though, on his first penalty. It's going to be very clean to have this advantage until the end of the race, but he's doing very good so far. He's within a second. He's got 1 less penalty, which means 3 less seconds into his race time. Billy again struggling on the mid-apex low speed corners. Tom Killer and Spaghetti in the pits. Ferrari now exiting, still in P6. Spaghetti, believe that was a front wing change. That was quite a slow pit stop for him, with Maledictus passing him just about now on the entry into turn 1. Maledictus up into P9. Spaghetti very close to them, side by side on the pit lane exit. Spaghetti, better traction, better tyres, fresher compound around the outside into turn 3. He's going to make this stick. Maledictus down the inside, pushes the Williams off the track for P9. Great racing between the two of them. Is Maledictus going to defend now into turn 5? Yes, he is, very nicely indeed. So somehow Maledictus on his Red Bull still in P9, as Spaghetti is going to try and go side by side with him. Maledictus pushes him off on the limit on the racetrack, as the Williams is going to have to compromise its exit due to Maledictus pushing him on the inside of the track. Is Spaghetti going to go for another move into the air pen? He has a look. Maledictus doesn't defend and he leaves the door open, and Spaghetti is going to take it, but he's going to have way less traction than Maledictus. The top two still haven't pitted. It's lap 19, and the question is, are they going to the end? The tyre wear has to be incredibly good to go to the end on the same compound, but it's still 8 tenths between them. Very even pace and no big mistakes for both of them, so kudos to them for keeping up this pace with this much pressure on both of them. Let's see if Spaghetti can make a move on the Red Bull driver on fresher compound. Oh yes, he can into turn 5. That caught me off guard a bit there. Maledictus is going to try and defend, and he does so indeed very successfully again. Spaghetti though with a better exit again off turn 6. Is he going to make a move into turn 7? He seems to be a bit far back, but he's going to dive it down the inside anyway. Down the inside of the Red Bull. Maledictus is going to try and go around the outside. Yes, he does indeed. And Maledictus somehow still in P9 with Grangebury into the Force India pit box now. He goes down to P5 as the Williams driver is going to go down the inside again. Maledictus incredibly wide again. Bad Boy with the quickest lap of the day. Tom Killer goes even quickest, and that leaves me wondering, is the track drying up or anything? But the two of them now, Grangebeard, Tom Killer is ahead of Grangebeard with the undercut, and Force India driver is now down to P6. Effectively, I think that might still be P6, you know, but this is going to be incredibly interesting with the undercut of Bad Boy. Is it going to work? I think he's going to rejoin just between these two Seppins with a 3-second penalties action absolutely everywhere, with Maledictus still ahead of the Williams driver. Incredible defending by him for P9 in this race. But Tom Killer jumping Grangebeard in the pits, very crucial pit stop, very crucial undercut. The top two are now pitting, so I don't think they're gonna be affected by anyone. I think Chill Drive is gonna stay out. Bad Boy, let's see if he pits the Force India driver. It would be sensible if he pitted now, and he doesn't, so he wants to be undercut or something, I don't know, but this is not a very smart strategy by Bad Boy, who's gonna still be in P4. He does another quickest lap though, so it's gonna be very interesting to see. Gonna have to wait and see how it all pans out for the two Force India drivers. One of them has already lost a position to another driver due to undercut. Is Bad Boy gonna lose one as well? Gonna have to wait and see. Alice Killer picks up his second penalty of the day, which leaves him equal with Billy on 2 seconds, so Chill Drive still out on track. Interesting to see if Grangebeard can get past Tom Killer. It's a very crucial battle for the championship. Grangebeard is not on the top 5 on the driver standings after some DNS here and there. Decent finish in China from what I can remember, but a DNF in Australia let him down after battling for the podium. Spaghetti and Maledictus now. Spaghetti finally in front of Maledictus, but is Eduardo gonna go for a move now? I don't think he is, as he compromised his exit there, tapping the back of the Williams on the exit of turn 6. But it would be incredible to see Maledictus in front of a Spaghetti again. Spaghetti lost quite a lot of time behind the Red Bull driver now, but Spaghetti well and truly defends that position to the hairpin. But now Maledictus is going to go for the switchback. Chill Drive still has to pit Kalik, so that's your explanation right there. It's about P4 or P5, but the undercuts are going to have to play an effect here. Spaghetti defending the P9 position, so Grangebeard was actually running P5, but let's get to that later, as Maledictus is trying to go for a move on Spaghetti. Williams versus Red Bull into turn 1. Maledictus breaks just a tad bit later than the Williams driver. Spaghetti is going to try and defend. Maledictus tries to go for a very weird switch back that didn't quite work. Tapped the side pod of the Williams, and that might be damage on this front right end plate. Seems a bit odd there, less pieces on his right end plate, but now Robin is right on the back of these two, with Grangebeard very close to Tom Killer. Many battles to watch out for. Grangebeard obviously getting undercutted by the Ferrari of Tom Killer, so he's eager to get ahead of him again, as Alice now a second between him and the net leader Billy, with Chill Drive still staying out. Is he going for the one stop? I think he might be. Lap 23 out of 35. I think this is as close as you can get to a zero stop. I don't think he's going to be pitting, so actually Kalik, he might actually be leading this race, you know, as he's not pitting again. He might be going to the end, so it's going to be interesting. Obviously all the drivers are going to be way quicker than him on a fresher compound on the wet. Quite crucial to have more grip in the wet. Maledictus 5 second stop and go for corner cutting. He's now right behind Spaghetti. He's going to go for a move. No, he's not. Red Bull driver stays behind, tucked in behind the Williams. Is Robin going to have a go at Maledictus for the points? I might actually confuse Billy a bit. He might not push as much as he would have, because he might think Chill Drive is going for another stop. and then Childrive is going to win the race. But I don't know, gonna have to check Childrive's penalties. That might be a good idea to check what. Yeah, he's got 2, he's got 3 penalties. That's not good. Billy has got 2 and his 2 warnings, and Alex Killer's got 2 as well. So not great on penalties for Childrive. He's losing pace now as well. Within 2 seconds is the Haas driver and the pole man, Billy. Maledictus goes for a move on the hairpin on the Williams of Spaghetti. Robin cannot do anything either. It was just a waste of a move, but he tried it up the inside on the hairpin. Ricciardo move didn't quite work. 6 tenths now between Billy and Alex Killer with 12 laps to go. This is going to be an absolutely titanic battle for the lead of this race, with Childrive getting involved as well. This is going to be a 3-way fight for the win. So now Billy has well caught up on the back of Childrive. Alex Killer picks up another 3-second time penalty, which is going to be absolutely crucial. He now has to get past Billy and make a 3-second gap. But let's see what happens between these two now. Childrive on the 0 stop is going to have to hold on to P1 for as much as he can. Childrive, who picks up another time penalty, that's not going to be very good for him. So that's 4 penalties, I believe, right now. Billy's losing time behind Childrive. Is Alex Killer going to go for a move? This is his best chance of the race so far, and I do think he's going to have a bigger one. Childrive holding up Billy, who's on the 0 stop. Alex Killer right behind him in P3. Billy's going to have a look, and Alex Killer has lost his front wing, and that's absolutely crucial. He's going to have way less grip now. Alex Killer breaks his front wing on the back of Billy. Childrive now goes very defensive. Is Billy gonna try and go for a switch back or around the outside? He hasn't got a way past right now. He has to get past Childrive, because if Alex Killer goes in front, it might be a bit difficult for Billy to win this race. But now he's got the straight line speed, he's got the slipstream, and he's got the inside line for the chicane, and I think it's going to be an easy move. No, it's not. Childrive beautifully around the outside, holds on to P1. Alex Killer is going to pit now, and I think that's the most smart thing to do. With 10 laps to go, fresh compound, new set of front wing, and Billy still on the back of Childrive. So I think Alex Killer did the right thing there. Billy still cannot go through, and this might allow Bad Boy to have a go at the Haas driver as well. Let's see, Billy's gonna go for a move into turn 5. Childrive is gonna defend the position for now. Billy with a way better exit off turn 6. Beautiful by Childrive. Cuts him off there, closes the door just in time for Billy to have a fail on the switchback, but he's going to try and go down the inside now again into turn 7. The chicane of turn 7 and 8 around the outside for Billy. He's going to make his stick into the hairpin now. It's going to be the bravest one on the brakes. Billy versus Childrive. Who is it going to be? Looks to be Billy into the hairpin. Childrive is going to try and go for a switchback, which doesn't work, unfortunately, for the McLaren driver. He's down to P2, but it's still a very decent position and way better than what he was. And if his tires are still hanging on there, the zero stop might actually work. No, as I say that, he comes back in the pits with 9 laps to go. Bad Boy into P2 now, with Billy in P1. So damage limitation for the Force India driver of Bad Boy. And I'm saying that, let's check the penalties, because this might actually be a very good chance for Bad Boy to win this race. Billy with 2 penalties on the verge of 3, Bad Boy with only 1 on the verge of 2, so 1.7 between them. This is Bad Boy's this is Billy's race to lose now, with more penalties. He's in the lead, and he's kept this for since the start of the race pretty much. Chilldrive holding him up, costing of seconds, which might actually win Bad Boy the race. 1.6 between them. But let's see further back. Warlock and Intermediates, so that's going to be interesting to see as well. Robin struggling on the wet so much right now. This might actually be better to be on the Intermediates. So strategy coming into play. Alice Killer on the Intermediates. Alice Killer and Chilldrive on the Intermediates as well. Chilldrive and Alice Killer on the Intermediate compound. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out on the lap times now, but I don't think they're actually pulling away from Mitchell, who's on the wets right behind them. Alice Killer's gonna get attacked by the Toro Rosso driver now. Bad Boy with the quickest lap. Grangeby with a 5-second stop and go, exceeding track limit. Alice Killer, who is gonna break the latest. I just think Mitchell is gonna have the more grip. Alice Killer stays ahead, so this might actually be the crossover point. So I don't think the Intermediates are gonna gain a lot of time on the wets. Mitchell goes down the inside, pushes Alice Killer just a bit on the back end. But let's just focus on this battle between the top two. 8/10 between them. Spaghetti pits as well for, I would imagine, Intermediates. Maledictus as well. Robin in the pits. Seppins is on Intermediates already. The top four are on wets. Mitchell 2/10 behind Alice Killer. This shows that the Intermediates are definitely not the quickest tire right now. I think the wets are still just about quicker. As you can see, Mitchell way more confidence on the traction zones, but I think it's only a matter of time before the Intermediates are the quicker tire to be on. Oh, Mitchell loses the back end now as Grangeby goes into the pit lane for Intermediate tyres as well. And I'm all sorts of confused because the Intermediates are not that much quicker, but I don't think they're actually realizing this, and they're all pitting for Intermediates. The top three still on the wet compound, which seems to be the quickest one still, with just 6 laps to go. I don't think the Intermediate tyre is the best one to be on right now. And Grangeby might have just thrown away a good few points right now with this pit stop. We're gonna have to wait and see. His pace is 8.4 seconds behind Mitchell. That's why I'm saying it's not gonna be easy for him to gain all those positions up. I think it would have been better if he's just stayed on the wets. But this is the closest gap we have got. This is Intermediate versus Mitchell's wets, as Bad Boy picks up a penalty now, and I think Billy and Bad Boy are now equal. This is crucial. Billy with 3 penalties for Billy, and I think Bad Boy has only got 2. Yes, he has. So Bad Boy with 6, so that's 2 penalties. Billy with 3. At the moment it's Bad Boy the victory. Mitchell in the pits. Mitchell on Intermediates. That's interesting. That's interesting. Serves his 5-second stop and go. I'm not sure why they are pitting for Intermediates. Mitchell clearly saw he was quicker on the wet compound, but his tyre wear might have been too bad for him to carry on till the end of the race. So he has pitted for the green tyre compound. The Intermediate. Warlock still in P8. Mitchell very wide there under the grass on cold tyres. Bad Boy 7.5 behind Billy. As long as he stays within 3 seconds, it's his race to win. Billy a bit wider. We might actually see a fight between these two for the win. I don't think either of them know that each other they don't have the same penalties. Billy with one more, which means 3 more seconds. So Bad Boy right behind him. Pressure on both of them. Intensity is rising between them. The top 2 in the driver standings, whoever wins this race is going to be the championship leader. Billy loses the back end quite a bit there. Bad Boy tags him on the back end. 2.5 tenths between these two. It's going to be a titanic battle we're going to witness. 5 laps to go. It's a sprint between these two. About the same tyres for both of them. Half a second between them. And the top 2 in the standings. This is the battle we want to see. The pole sitter versus Bad Boy, who's not had a great qualifying. He's came back. A bit of luck, but good strategy is what puts him in this position to win this race. And only 2 penalties are what are going to give him the upper hand right now, as it's just 4.5 tenths between him and Billy. Can he make a move into turn 1? Then Billy compromises his run with the sausage curves on the chicane. They have 2 back markers as well, which is going to be very interesting to see. Maledictus and Robin, who picks up a penalty right now. 3.5 tenths between the top 2, sorry. As Alice Killer is very close to Childruff as well. Top 3 are the only ones, I believe, on the wet compound. Yep. Bad Boy right on Billy's diffuser on that Haas. Incredible ending we have here in Canada, as it's only 4 tenths between Childruff and Alice Killer themselves. Oh, it's even closer for Bad Boy. He's going to try and go around the outside into the hairpin. Lap 32. Bad Boy goes for his move around the outside into the hairpin. They touch on the hairpin. Billy on the inside line. Bad Boy better traction off that hairpin. Now into the chicane. Bad Boy seems to have the upper hand on the straight line speed. Billy on his slipstream is going to tuck to the outside. Bad Boy is going to defend, so Billy's going to go to the inside. He cannot quite break later than the Force India. Bad Boy into the lead of the Canadian GP with 3 laps to spare. Can Billy make a move and then build a 3-second gap to Bad Boy? It seems like his hopes are draining here in the wet. Warlock and Mitchell very close to each other as well, who might want to switch to other battles, as Billy is now dropping back from Bad Boy. Warlock same move as Liam Bentley into Mitchell. Is going to go around the outside, switch back for him. Very smart, but Mitchell keeps it tidy. Better traction as well. Very nice defending there. Childruff and Alice Killer for P4 in this race. Tom Killer with a very quiet race in P3 on the wet, so very good strategy by him as well. So there's the back marker of the Red Bull Maledictus driver. Billy now on the edge of the track limits, right behind Bad Boy. Can he make a move? This is a very good chance for him. He's right behind him. Picks up some nice traction, but he cannot make quite a move here. Warlock also extremely close to the back of the Toro Rosso driver, who gets a very bad exit of turn 8. Can Warlock go around the outside? Is he going to opt for the switch back into the exit of the hairpin? He's going to opt for the switch back. From what it seems like, he holds back to get a better traction off it, but not a great traction zone for him. It's going to see him having to spend his time as Billy goes down the inside of Bad Boy. We quite missed that. Billy with a 3-second penalty though, so he's going to let Bad Boy through now, just about for missed that. With 2 laps to go, Billy went for a very ambitious move on turn 7 on the chicane. So Bad Boy is still in the lead, and with now 6 seconds advantage on Billy. So this is going down the drain for Billy, from the pole to getting stuck behind Shield Drive, to getting 2 more penalties than your championship rival. That's what cost him the race today. Unfortunate for him, he had the pace to win, but luck from Bad Boy and good strategy from both of them. Less corner cutting penalties for Bad Boy, sorry, is what is going to gain him the advantage between them. But neither of them know this. Billy with another penalty within 2 laps. He's got 2 penalties, and that's exactly sums up his race. He loses the back end now to Sebastian Vettel there from 2011 as Warlock very close to Mitchell. 83 thousandths on the sector 2 split, but he's still gonna make a move onto the back straight now. As Bad Boy enters his 3rd sector of the race. Great strategy, great management of the tyres and on the penalties. That's exactly what's going to win him the race today in Montreal. It's going to be 25 points for Leon Bentley, and he's going to rocket up his driver's standings gap from Billy, who's going to have to stay in 2nd for now. Bad Boy across the line in Canada wins his 3rd win, I believe, of the season, or the 2nd one, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Shield Drive and Alex Killer going side by side. Not sure what the penalties for each of them are like, but into the last chicane as Alex Killer probably going to try and brake later than Shield Drive, but he's way too far back. Shield Drive with some good straight line speed is going to remain in P4, but better exit for Alex Killer. One more warning for him. Up to the line, I think it's going to be Shield Drive in P4. Tom Killer meanwhile in P3, and yes, the penalties didn't change anything in the end. Same penalties for both of them. It's actually the 1st win of Leon Bentley of the season. Just about remembered that. Grangeby are very close to getting a top 5 there due to penalties. One more penalty from Alice Killer and that would have been a top 5 to remember for Grangeby. Warlock in P7. He's gonna remain in P7 with Mitchell having a lot of penalties down in P8. Spaghetti is going to cross the line in P9, sorry, can't even read anymore. The Williams driver gets 2 points as Robin Fokema across the line in P10, 1 point for him. Championship celebrations, podium celebrations then for the top 3 drivers. Leon celebrating this victory, his 1st of the season, launching him 9 points ahead of Billy in the standings. Great victory for him heading into round 6 with a decent gap. So many penalties across the field, but it's Bad Boy with the least amount and the victory in his back. Billy in 2nd, Tom Mortiers in 3rd, Alex Marsh in P4, Alessandro Van der Velde, the other Ferrari, in P5. Decent points for Scuderia again. 6th for Grangeby. Warlock in 7th for Mitchell after starting in the front row of the grid for the first time this season. Spaghetti in P9, the Williams, and Robin scoring 1 point for him, and the Toro Rosso in P10. So we have Tom, Killer and Billy joining us here, and we are waiting for our race winner, Bad Boy. Hello to the top three and congratulations to all three of you. Well, mainly Leon Bentley in P1, first race win of the season, rocketing up the championship lead into 9 points over Billy. So how does that feel, Leon?
Well, obviously, good. Billy, if it was dry, like, you would have easily destroyed me. I think this strategy got me it, and chill drive holding you up.
Alright, so another question. At the last few laps, at the time that you guys were battling for the lead of the race, did you know about the penalties that each other had? Because obviously that made big difference in the end.
I didn't. I think I passed him on like lap 32, and then lap 34. Billy misjudged his braking point, and that's how we got the 3-second time penalty. Because I knew it would have been a penalty because he went straight on through the chicane, and then I just thought, oh, he's got 3 seconds. He was battling with Alice Killer, so I thought he might have a few already, and he did. So
yeah, we did see Billy losing the lead, and then the last laps getting I think 2 or 3 penalties, so that eventually summed up pretty much his race and why he lost the victory, because he got pole, he had the pace, Billy, so he just corner cut it a bit too much today, and I think that's probably what you have to improve on in Austria, another track that it's pretty easy to corner cut on. So are we gonna see you guys up the top again? Are you confident heading into that? And Billy, can you snatch off the championship lead for the first time this season there?
I hope so. I think next race will be a good race because Baku is one of my favorite circuits. And I hope for good battles, and yeah.
Nice. Alright, so yeah, obviously wet weather spiced things up today. Did you guys expect that one? Did you guys have a wet setup, or?
I did a bad decision. I used the dry setup and raced in the rain with the dry setup.
Yeah.
It was a bad decision.
Yeah, because we did see some changes in the straight line. Like, some people are way quicker, like Chill Drive, who said he didn't have a wet setup.
For me, I had slightly a dry setup, and I know because Park Friendly was on, you can still change your front wing.
Yeah.
So I changed that just before the race, and so it changed it into a wet setup. And you can obviously tell when Chill and Billy were absolutely flying down the straights.
Indeed. So moving on to Tom now. Very decent, another podium for you. So consistency is key. I think that's what you proved on the start of the season, and that's what you are translating in the constructors mainly. With P1, I think you got more points than Force India and Haas today as well. So I think you've got an even bigger gap today. So yeah, pretty quiet race for you, but you got from I think it was P8 or P7 in the grid. You got up to P3, so
I think, is it 9?
yeah, I think we saw a pass on Mitchell or Robin.
Using wet, so
Yeah, you had pretty decent pace, but not quite enough from strategy and from like clean air and that. If you qualified a bit higher, I think you would have had a shot in the race victory, but a very quiet second stint pretty much. But yeah, 15 points for you, and falling a bit back from the top 2 that happened last season. Do you think you can reverse this from last season and try and stay with the top 2? Obviously Bad Boy and Billy seem to be the main title rivals so far, as they have a
No,
big
I
gap,
don't think.
kind of.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I don't think I will do it. I probably will. We're just focusing on the constructors. Like, I really don't care about World Driver Championship. It's for fun, so why would you sweat like it's real life? So it doesn't matter to me at all.
Okay.
Driver World Championship.
Well, I think if you do well in the constructors, it's pretty much evident you'll do well in the drivers as well. Consistency will translate both in the both tables. So I think you still P3 in the standings, and if Billy and Bad Boy keep on scrapping up the top, you may pick up some pieces, some wins here and there in the middle stage of the championship. But we'll have to wait and see. Practice makes perfect, obviously, and we've seen that with quite a lot of drivers changing their picture from last season and being up the top. So
Alec?
yeah, Kalik. What Kalik? Kalik in F1.
Yeah, but last
Okay.
season he was in the beginning was not that fast.
Yeah. Alice Killer,
bit more than
from very good driver from last season.
Yes, he's trying to get the world championship, but I don't
But-
think he will.
We saw like Ferrari last season kicking off their season almost like you guys have in season 4,
Yep.
but then they had a terrible second part. So never say
Swallow.
never.
Swarlock.
Yeah, well,
Swarlock.
okay. Well, it could happen to anyone, but
He got an engine failure in Malaysia. I don't think it's even possible to get it online.
yeah, I don't know. Anything could happen,
Well,
really.
Yeah. I want to win one then more race this season. And not get a race win taken by penalty last year in Canada. Canadian.
Mhm.
Canada, whatever. But,
So with that being said, to all three of you, what are your goals? How many podiums? What do you want to achieve this season?
To win the championship, of course.
Okay, going in for Billy, wants to win the championship. The German driver / Greek. I don't know how to go, German or Greek driver.
Let's say German,
Okay.
but German / Greek is good too.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, like, I don't know what to call you. I said Greek / like German in China, but Bad Boy, do you want to win the championship as well, or are you going for constructors like Tom Killer?
Well, since I'm leaving the championship, I may as well go for it. Would do quite well if my teammate could slightly step it up a little bit. I know, like before this race, we were 15 points behind. I don't know where my teammate finished, but if he can maybe get a podium or two, he might be able to snatch the.
Yeah, definitely. You guys are both doing well. Grange, we got a bit unlucky in the end. The thing you finished P6 or P7, I'm not sure. So, but it was good pace he had in the start. You guys worked together in the early stages. But not gonna ramble on for too much. As long as you guys don't have anything to ask in the chat, or if the top 3 drivers don't have anything to say.
I have something
I
to say.
think okay.
I actually Grunsberg thinks need to get P4 because he did his 5 stop and go. He served his 5 stop and go, but still got added to his penalties. He got only 3 seconds, so he probably will pass Alice and Chill on penalties because they both got 12 seconds or some shit. Some shit, oh shit.
Right, yeah, I remember he was a lot of seconds behind, but I think he had way less penalties anyway, because you finished like a 10th behind Alice and Chill Drive, so we got a bit unlucky there.
Yeah.
but I don't know. Well,
Really?
yeah, it was very close at the end. I think Childrop got 4th and Alice 5th. So Childrop says he had the same with the 5 seconds. Well, we'll see. I have to talk to Johnny and Calic, all the stewards' inquiries, but yeah, I think that's all for today. Very exhausting commentary box here. A lot of battles everywhere, literally. But that was the Canadian GP round 5 of the season for here in ERL Formula 2. Drivers putting on a show every week. So tune in next week in Austria, in Spielberg, to find out what this championship has to store for us. See you in 1 week's time. Hope you enjoyed the stream, and see you guys next time. Goodbye.